Think back to when you actually read your emails within hours, maybe even minutes. You probably remember the satisfaction of a clean inbox, right? But somehow, you're now looking at 200 plus unread messages in Gmail, wondering when exactly that changed. It's not like you woke up one morning and decided, starting today, I'm just going to let my emails pile up. It happened gradually, almost invisibly, in micro moments and tiny decisions that seemed completely reasonable at the time. And the weird part is, you're probably still checking your inbox multiple times a day. You're opening the app, seeing the notifications, scrolling through the subject lines. You're just not clicking. So what's happening in those micro moments? What psychological traps are quietly pulling you from inbox zero to inbox chaos without you even noticing? Once you understand the traps that start the spiral, it becomes pretty clear why so many of us end up here without ever meaning to. Single skip. There was this one specific moment. You probably don't even remember it, but it's where it all started. It was the first time you saw an email and made a completely reasonable decision not to deal with it right then. Maybe it came in while you were in a meeting, or you were in the middle of something else, and you thought, I'll handle this properly when I get to my computer. That thought felt responsible, mature even, like you were being intentional instead of reactive. So you left it unread, or you marked it as unread after reading it, creating this little bookmark for yourself to come back to later. But when later came, you were doing something else. The email was still there, waiting, and you thought, okay, tonight then, or tomorrow morning. It still felt totally manageable. But what you didn't know is you were teaching your brain that there's a third option between respond now and ignore forever. It's called respond later. And once that option exists, your brain starts using it more and more. I saw a post last week that said the first unread email is the most dangerous one. And they're right. Because when you checked your inbox later that day, your eyes moved right past the old email to the newer messages. Those felt more urgent, more fresh. Suddenly that one unread email became 2, then 5, then 50, until you stopped noticing them individually. They just became this backdrop of things you meant to do but hadn't. That first email you skipped is probably still in your inbox right now, buried under 1,000 others. You haven't thought about it in weeks, but it's the one that started everything. It proved that skipping was possible, and once your brain learned that lesson, it never forgot it. Batch fantasy. See, you've convinced yourself that the smart, efficient way to handle your inbox is to batch your emails. The plan is simple. You're going to set aside one perfect window to power through all your unread emails at once instead of responding piecemeal throughout the day. And it sounds completely logical, right? I mean, that's literally what the productivity gurus recommend. So you've adopted it as your strategy. The only problem is, you never actually do the batching. Instead, you just keep waiting for that perfect, mythical hour where you have high energy, total focus, and zero distractions. But that window never appears. Meanwhile, your inbox is just piling up in a queue, but you feel okay about it because you have a plan. In reality, what you're actually doing is using the idea of efficiency as permission to avoid the work. You've convinced yourself that dealing with an email individually would be inefficient, and you're way too smart for that. So the unread emails sit in your inbox. And while they sit, you're telling yourself this fantasy story about how you're going to have the incredibly productive session where you clear everything in one go. Now, what started as legitimate productivity advice has turned into avoidance, but with better branding. Because you'd rather believe you're waiting for the right moment than admit you're actively avoiding the very thing you said you'd do. If this is starting to feel uncomfortably familiar, go ahead and hit that like button. Notification blindness. You've seen that little red number of unread emails on your Gmail icon so many times that it's stopped registering as information. It's just part of the visual landscape of your phone now, like the battery icon or the time display. Your brain has learned to filter it out the same way it filters out background noise. And look, this happens so gradually, you didn't even notice you were training yourself into numbness. First, you learn to ignore promotional emails, then newsletters, then updates, until your brain built a wall where the numbers stopped meaning anything. In some ways, this is protective. I mean, you'd go insane if you treated every single unread message like an emergency. But going numb doesn't make the emails less real. It just makes you less aware of them. So every time you open your phone, you see that notification badge, and instead of pausing, you just keep scrolling to the apps that feel more rewarding, more immediate, and more manageable. But every time you scroll past it, you're reinforcing that blindness. Status symbol. We've all done this. You're having a conversation and you casually mention, I have like 300 unread emails right now. It's actually insane. On the surface, it sounds like a complaint, but deep down, you're wearing that unread count like a badge of honor. It's this visible marker that says you're important, you're busy, and your time is so valuable that your inbox has become unmanageable. Now look, this isn't fully conscious. You aren't deliberately letting your inbox fill up for status reasons, but there's a part of you that feels a tiny bit of validation every time you see that mountain of notifications. Because it has become a signal that says, people need me, I matter, I'm connected to things that are happening. It's the ultimate humble brag. It serves as an apology for being unresponsive while simultaneously communicating that you're too high demand to keep up. You're essentially outsourcing your self-worth to the number of people trying to grab a piece of your time. But truth is, half those emails are promotional, a quarter are automated bots, and the rest you could clear in 20 minutes if you actually tried. But as long as that busy proof feels this good, you'll keep letting them pile up. Because cleaning out your inbox would mean losing the only evidence you have that you're actually as busy as you say you are. If you're recognizing these patterns in yourself, make sure you subscribe, because I break down behavioral traps like this every week. Chaos comfort. There's this weird thing that happens where your messy inbox stops feeling like a problem and starts feeling like home. The chaos becomes your new baseline. You open Gmail, see 800 unread emails, and you don't feel panic. You don't even feel shame. You just feel normal. You've adjusted your entire life around that reality instead of trying to change it. And honestly, this comfort with chaos is actually a survival mechanism. If you felt terrible every single time you looked at your screen, you'd be in constant distress. So your brain does you a favor. It normalizes it. It makes the mess feel inevitable. But when you normalize the mess, you lose the signal that tells you something needs to change. You shifted from my inbox is a mess and I need to fix it to my inbox is a mess and that's just how it is now. And that shift is what makes the mess permanent. Maybe you're genuinely okay with it, or maybe you've just convinced yourself you're okay with it because being not okay would require effort you're not ready to give. Either way, you've built a comfort zone inside the wreckage. The longer you live there, the more a clean inbox feels foreign, like it wouldn't even be you anymore if you cleared it. You've fused your identity with the clutter, and at that point, the mess is easier to keep than it is to clear. Look, your inbox isn't a mess because you're disorganized. The real issue is that somewhere along the way, you made peace with the idea that this is permanent, that this chaos is just how you operate now. And maybe that's fine. Maybe you genuinely don't care. But if you're still watching this, there's a part of you that knows it's not fine. Drop a comment and let me know. What's your number? How many unread emails are sitting there right now? No judgment. I'm genuinely curious. And if you recognized yourself in any of these traps today, hit subscribe, because honestly, we're all stuck in something. Thanks for watching.